All right. So Fascist Book froze us. Something new and unique.
What else is new, right?
Yeah, right. So we're gonna be doing these Zooms from now on, and you can find them primarily. Look, if you see them on Facebook, that's great. But subscribe to www.magainstitute.com because that is going to be our primary platform.
Right.
Let us have your email so that we can keep in touch with you and so that you can get updates when we do videos and when we have things to share with you. Because I'm telling you, don't get too attached to this Facebook group because it always was a temporary thing. We've got 13,000 members and 13,000 people are not seeing our stuff.
No, like 20, 30. It's really bad.
And nobody's following us on Twitter or Parler. So
that's okay.
Yeah, but we're going to do the website. That's where it's going to be. So let's start from the top because rather than have people go to Facebook and today's hearing in Georgia, both hearings were pretty incredible. The second one more than the first one.
Absolutely.
First one was your standard legislative dog and pony show. Yeah, I think Ratzenberger broke his arm patting himself on the back so hard.
Yeah, that wasn't him. That was just his attorney. But
his attorney. But
attorney. And then they brought in the elections official from Fulton County, which was I know, right? I mean, we've just done everything great. Tell me something, Timothy. Why did they have that first in the day when they should have been able to ask the questions from learning from witnesses first?
Because people's attention spans are this long and they know it. And the media all needed their talking points, their sound bites to run with tonight's video. I guarantee you tonight's newscasts are all going to be, there was no evidence presented in the Georgia hearing today.
Yes, everything that was presented had already been debunked.
Oh, yeah. According to
Emily Parent, or whatever her name is.
Elena Karen Biatch Parent.
She's awful.
Her full name is Elena Karen Biatch Helicopter Parent.
Helicopter Parent. I love it. All right, so we're going to do a little takeaway from the second hearing, which was after lunchtime. The nuts and bolts,
the meat,
right?
The potatoes, yeah.
And so the attorney from the Trump campaign, I'll just give a rundown of my numbers that I have real quickly.
Yep.
Spoke that he was filing the following in the course of his case. It will be all of these fraud votes to follow. 206,000 felons voted. 30,000, I think, was the youth that were under 18, underage votes. I didn't get the non-registered. That's a big circle hole there. I missed it. 1,343 ballots were using a PO box, which is against Georgia law. 4,926 registered in Georgia after the registration date, also against the law. 10,315 deceased at the time of the election. That's interesting.
I wonder which constituency they went for.
Yeah, I wonder what all of these went for, right? 395 cast a ballot in another state, so they voted twice, which is illegal in each state. So if they actually go after those 395, they can be tried in both states.
Yeah, they get jailed twice.
Right. 15,700 filed a national change of address. That could be people who were military, as that one gentleman spoke about. But probably not 15,700.
Well, no, it'll say right on your change of address form whether it's a temporary change or a permanent change.
Right.
So
40,279 had moved across county lines 30 days prior, which is illegal. So they voted in their former county.
And the reason that that's significant, as the gentleman said at the end, those people had no business voting for a sheriff in a county where they no longer lived.
Of course, right. So the demand is that the election must be vacated by the Georgia legislature. We must appoint presidential electors to meet on 12/14, but you must determine the presidential electors not based on the fraudulent activity of November 3rd, but based on what you now know that many of the state laws have been violated, which is what we heard the professor talk about over and over and over again.
Professor Eastman, he gave a great constitutional.
And I'm going to let you give a dissertation about him in just a moment, but we'll talk about Miss Pick first, if you don't mind, so we can go through. So we can just go through the day as it went. Miss Pick was next after all of those incredible.
Attorney Pick, yeah.
All of those, I don't know what her first name was, but
she was Attorney Pick. She was an attorney with the campaign.
Well, she claimed that she's an attorney, but she was not with the campaign.
She's not,
so anyway,
she's not appearing as an attorney, but she is an attorney.
Right.
Yeah.
So the election must be vacated. That's the case. That's the course they're going to take in this case. That's why we had the hearing today. That's why witnesses were there.
That is the action recommended by Professor Eastman, but that senator that spoke at the end, the guy that described himself as just a simple cowboy,
just a good old country boy
from West Georgia, you know, he was looking for every opportunity to turn turtle. He's the one that let Raffensperger's attorney speak ad nauseum this morning, patting himself on the back. He's looking to do the typical Republican thing of turning turtle. It's, you know, as we said earlier in our Facebook Live, I cannot stand the Democrats' lack of morals, scruples, ethics, fair play, anything. There's no law that they won't break if it furthers their quest for power.
Sure.
But I do admire the fact that they fight and that they stick together. As you said, they circle the wagons. And as I said, Republicans circle the wagons too, but then they have a circular firing squad. They fire on the inside of the circle instead of the outside of the circle.
They shoot us, right?
Yeah, we need to turn those. But
gee, there ought to be something out there that maybe helps vet candidates to really give you a MAGA first, America first type certification.
To vet candidates that people know who they're voting for in the primary, but then also to hold them once they're elected,
hold them accountable.
Hold them accountable, and don't be confused by fake MAGA institutes. We found today. There is the MAGA Institute that started in May of this year. Well, we started last year. We are MAGA Institute, so they will be getting a cease and desist letter.
Absolutely, very soon this week, early next week, I trust.
Yes.
So let's let you talk about the infamous video that is making the rounds.
Well, this was Attorney Pick presented the, and why did it take a month? Why did it take a month?
Who held on to that? Who held on to that?
Yeah. Well, who didn't ask for it?
And how did she get it?
Who didn't ask for it for a month? Who dragged their heels for a month?
And how did she get it? Well, the Secretary of State dragged their heels.
Of course. So we have video from the Georgia World Center, which is where all the voting was taking, or all vote counting was taking place. And what it looks like, Brooke, is that it wasn't in one of the exhibition halls of the what it is. It's a big convention center.
Convention center, the State Farm.
Yeah, it wasn't in an exhibition hall. It was out in the hallway.
Right.
Because there was that big pillar and there was the carpeting. It was like the hallway outside the exhibition halls for anybody that's been to a trade show. And there were four, it was a quad trick. There were 4 camera screen views. And what they showed was at 10:30, 10:35, all the Republicans and all the media were ushered out. And as soon as they were out, it was like they started pulling what they started calling suitcases. They're rolling ballot boxes with pull-out handles and wheels, just like a travel suitcase. So they were calling them suitcases. 4 suitcases full of ballots.
4 workers remained.
4 workers remained, between 6,000 and 15,000 ballots in those suitcases of ballots that were pulled out in each one, that were pulled out from underneath the table that had the floor length tablecloth on it.
Yep.
Okay.
Hiding in plain sight.
And it took them 2 hours, because then the Republicans finally got wind of it at 2 in the morning and they came back in. Those 4 workers had gotten tipped off that the Republicans were coming back, and they quickly finished up, packed up, and got out 5 minutes before the Republicans got back. So the Republicans.
Wasn't it interesting that she said
nothing was going on? It was interesting
that the Republicans said that the Republicans said that they had to fight through security to even get back in. I wonder what they did to actually get themselves back in. But that is patriotic.
Well, it absolutely is. But why did they have to fight past security? Because security was trying to buy time for the cheaters upstairs.
To get out.
Yeah, quick, get out.
Of course.
Because they all packed up, and literally 5 minutes before they came back. And the video shows all this. Now, it also shows that they were standing there running through the machine. Brooke, those machines can scan 3,000 ballots an hour.
And there were 4 of them.
And
there were 2 in the back and 2 else. Yeah, 4 machines, 3,000 an hour.
Took them 4 hours.
Yeah.
But
Oh my gosh. Right.
But Elena,
there's no end to their crook.
No, yeah. Elena, Biatch, Karen,
That's been debunked.
Didn't see, she said that's been debunked, that the person in the blue, there was a person in blue, there were two ladies in yellow shirts, and then there was a blonde-haired woman with braids. Those were the four.
Yeah.
But the person in blue, this has been debunked. The Secretary of State's office says that was their monitor. It's like, all that proves is that
you know what, Elena
Berger was in on the scam.
You know what Elena actually said to Miss Pick? She said, "What evidence? This has been debunked." And Miss Pick goes, "You just saw it."
Yeah.
And pointed at the video. You just saw the evidence. I mean,
yeah.
It's very clear.
Also,
very clear
even more important, she said nobody else has seen this evidence. How has this been debunked if this is the first time anybody's seen this other than our team?
Right.
But it's been debunked. I told you. That's stage 4 of Democrat deception and deceitfulness.
Yeah, go through the stages real quick. Go through those
so
stages
we got this is Timbo's just like Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's stages of death and die. You got Timbo's stages of Democrat deception and duplicity. Stage 1 is there was no fraud. Stage 2 is there's no evidence of fraud. Stage 3 is you have no evidence of fraud. Stage 4 is there's no evidence of widespread fraud. Stage 5 is there's no evidence of widespread fraud sufficient to turn the election. Stage 6 is, oh, it's too late to do anything about it now.
We missed one earlier. We had 7. There was something else in there.
Do we have 7?
Oh, we did. We had 7 from earlier.
Anyway,
that's so funny.
Those are the stages of Democrat deception and duplicity. But
so really,
we joke about it, but seriously, these people are hardcore criminals. And this is why, and I've been saying this, you know this, I've been saying this for a long time now. The Democrat National Committee needs to be prosecuted under the RICO Act.
RICO, right.
This meets every statutory criterion listed in the Racketeering, Influenced, and Corrupt Organization Act, the act that Rudy used to bring down the 5 families in New York City. Okay.
Don't you think that's why Rudy's on the case?
We have a multi-state, cross-jurisdictional lines, crossing state lines, organized. Republican poll watchers were treated identically in all of these areas. We had the same illegal activity in all the areas with both the software and the ballot stuffing and the ballot harvesting and the dead people voting and the underage people voting, etc. It's it's a clear conspiracy. As Rudy says, the people running the elections in Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Detroit, Milwaukee, Phoenix, and Atlanta didn't just wake up on election day and say, "Hey, I've got an idea."
Right. And did you say Las Vegas too? Yeah, all of them coordinated.
Las Vegas.
Yep. And then they all had the food trucks coming in at 4 a.m., but weren't really food trucks. Those were ballot drops.
Wait. Yeah. Food trucks with no food?
Yep. Estimated 50 to 100,000 are entered. Yep.
So, but Elena Karen, Biatch helicopter parent said that there was no evidence. She didn't see it.
Right. Do you want to talk about the professor?
Professor Eastman was great. And let me just skip. Let's have sweets before we eat.
Okay.
Let's have dessert first. So at the end, Senator Elena Karen, Biatch helicopter parent, thought that she was going to do a mic drop and said, I just have one question, Professor. Are you a member of the Georgia State Bar?
I love that so much. He says no.
Never ask a question when you don't know the answer, because he said no, but I'm a member of the 11th Circuit Federal Bar, which has jurisdiction over Georgia, and I'm also a member of the Supreme Court Bar. Boom!
Boom! that was a beautiful moment.
That was the biggest booyah of the day.
That was the biggest booyah.
What he did is, and I strongly recommend everybody go back and look for the section with Professor Eastman. He gives the constitutional strategy, lays it out perfectly.
Yes.
All the case law, the McPherson case from 1892, which is still controlling law and which was cited in Bush v. Gore. So the two most important Supreme Court cases are McPherson in 1892 and Bush v. Gore in 2000. And he said, you don't need to find, well, first of all, he said, under the Constitution, Article 2, Section 1, Clause 2, state legislatures have the plenary power to choose electors. Okay. Until 1860, South Carolina did not have popular election for president. Until 1824, many states didn't have popular elections for president. The state legislatures would simply choose their slate of electors.
Right.
And I've been saying this for a long time too. We have no constitutional right to vote for president and vice president. In fact, if you even look at your ballot, we're voting for electors for Donald John Trump.
Exactly.
And Michael Paul Pence. We're not voting for Donald John Trump and Michael Paul Pence.
Right.
So
nobody understands that, but that's fine.
But look at your ballot. It says electors.
Yeah, it sure does.
But those elections are creations of state law.
Right.
There, but for the grace of the state, we wouldn't have an election. Okay, so the state has granted us that right. Well, the Voting Rights Act, you've got a right to vote if there's an election, but there's no constitutional right to have an election. The legislatures have a plenary power, and Professor Eastman even said, even state constitutions, not only can state executive authority, meaning the Secretary of State and the governor, or the judiciary of your state can limit your plenary power under the federal Constitution. Your plenary power under the federal Constitution to determine the electors for president and vice president supersedes your executive branch, supersedes your judicial branch. No one, not even your own state constitution, can limit your power. And because it's a plenary power, plenary means unchallengeable, absolute, total, you can reclaim that power. Even if you have passed legislation devolving authority to the Secretary of State to conduct elections, you don't need to prove fraud. If you prove fraud, you can invalidate the election, but you don't, and this was very important because he knew that the Democrats were going to say there's no fraud, there's no fraud, all the stages of deception and duplicity that we just covered. He said, you do not have to prove fraud. All you have to do to be able to exercise your plenary power to name your own slate of electors is to find that Georgia state law was not followed in this election. In this election, Georgia state law was not followed in many instances. There were many Georgia state laws that were not followed with regard to election. The felons voting, the dead people voting, the lack of signature, the change by the executive without legislative approval of or of and to or, meaning you could it used to say that you had to validate the signature by looking at the registration card and the application for absentee ballot, and the Democrats changed it to or. Why would you want to do that? If you've got a fraudulent application for an absentee ballot, of course it's going to match the fraudulent signature on the absentee ballot when it's received.
Because these are all of the arrows in her quiver.
Bingo, bingo, bingo. And so he said the executive did not have, and the judiciary together did not have, because there's a consent decree between the Secretary of State and the Democrat Party. They did not have the authority to change that and to or. You needed to pass legislation to do that. You did not do that. Therefore, unless they validated signatures under the scheme that you established legislatively, they have not followed the law, and you can invalidate the election. He gave them many different reasons why to invalidate the election, because Georgia state law wasn't followed. And he said, and he didn't just do the analysis of what they could do. He said, now let's look at the outcome. The outcome is, if you select a slate of electors, and the governor elects, through the Secretary of State, selects a slate of electors, meaning the Biden electors, and you send in the Trump electors, you send both of those slates to the Congress. When Congress opens the election of, counting the Electoral College votes, it'll have both slates. It needs to make a decision which slate it's going to accept. It can accept one, it can accept the other, it can accept neither. It can say Georgia has not made an election, Georgia is out of this election.
Right.
So there's a lot
vacated.
of outcomes. It's like Georgia didn't even participate.
Right.
it was a great legal analysis though, and I strongly suggest that if anybody's interested in really learning the fundamental legal principles underlying all of this, go watch his 10-minute presentation. It's not, you don't need to be a lawyer to understand it. It's in very clear language. He was speaking to legislators, so you'll be able to understand it just as well as the legislators did. Yep. And it was an excellent exegesis of the state of the law by one of the most brilliant legal constitutional scholars in the country. For people who don't know, Professor Eastman.
Now, this is the first time we've heard from him in these hearings. I was really encouraged.
It is.
I was
it's
glad
also
to
the first time we heard from Ross Perot's brother there.
Yeah,
in Dallas, Texas.
Russell Ramsland.
Russell Ramsden, and
yeah.
he did a great analysis. Do you want to walk people through that? What he
yes,
did?
Let me get back over
analysis?
to that.
Go back to your numbers.
So he's the cyber guy out of Texas. Again, he runs security operations, cyber. Lots of intel people work for him on the cyber
former
side.
Military, former 3-letter agency people. Yeah.
Yep, that's right. He conducted a comparison of the Dominion. This is where we lost ourselves earlier on the freeze. Right. He conducted a comparison of the ES&S machines,
which runs Scammatic software.
Yeah, Smartmatic, Scammatic, right? And the Dominion and all of the other tabulation machines. So he did this comparison. He said he did it in 3 ways. I missed the second. The first one was he used the 2020 census demographic information and then the election assistance voting information. But I think maybe the NV, maybe the other one was the national voter. I don't know. Anyway, so he compares turnout, he compares voters and the counties and how they voted in previous elections. Some extreme outliers could see if Biden outperformed or underperformed, and then it would be expected to be zeroed out based on where that is in the study. Biden outperformed by about 5% across the board. This is what we were seeing everywhere. 5%, 3 to 5%. Biden outperformed across the board, which was a very strange anomaly. So they decided instead of doing percentages, maybe they would look at it by the counties instead. So if in the Dominion counts in those counties, Biden would get 78% of a win. And all the other machines in those counties, the other counties that use other machines, you'd get a Biden win of 46%.
46%, yeah.
A 30% differential. I mean,
and the best line, one of the best lines of the day was the gentleman, the black gentleman who had the cool trilby.
Oh, he was cool.
Former Navy, former sailor. He came back. He's from Savannah, Georgia, and he said he was sick of seeing how that Savannah, one of the poorest cities in Georgia, how it was being mismanaged by the Democrats, which is why he got involved once he got back on his tour. He was on the Carl Vinson, and he said, we went after the people that did 9/11. And
wasn't that sad?
He said, and I came back here, and I'm sick at what I'm seeing in my own city here.
Right, I'm losing my volume.
I drove 4 hours today to talk to you, and now I got to drive 4 hours home. So thank you for letting me speak. But he had a great line. He said, you've got a lot of little fires in every county around, and all the, you know what? I'm sorry, I misspoke. This was the pot-bellied guy that said this. The guy with the bigger guy with the navy blazer. And because he did a data plot. He said, I wanted to see where this problem was. So I went in, and it's all around. It's every county in this state. And he said, the problem is you got a little fire here, little fire here. He goes, you got little fires all over the state. He goes, well, little fires turn into a big fire.
Inferno.
Absolutely. And that is what is going on. So look, there was mismanagement, and we keep coming back to how come it's always the same precincts? How come it's always the same cities? How come it's always the same problems in the same areas with the same people? Rudy said it yesterday. You know how you end corruption? You prosecute people, you put them in prison.
That's why Florida.
You don't accept promises.
Did you hear me?
Yeah, that's why Florida doesn't have a problem, because after 2000, they put people in prison. They found out what was going on down in Broward County, down in Palm Beach County, and they put people in prison.
Right.
And this time, Florida had their results posted at 9 p.m. on election night.
Right. So, I mean, obviously, we need to take a step from Florida. Exactly.
Yeah. And this was a Georgia state senator that said this. He said it's a disgrace that 2 weeks later we were still counting votes. It's an absolute disgrace.
It was a disgrace the way some of those people were treating the witnesses again. Remember the whole thing about the lady that was the poll manager talked about ballots coming through, and they were absentee. They should have been folded, or they should have.
Right,
and then,
but they were pristine.
She says, do you understand, this was Parent, whatever her name is, do you understand what duplication process means to a poll manager? These people.
Oh, the condescension is just unbelievable. Their superiority complex is insufferable.
It was insufferable. It was intolerable and untenable. It was horrible. But I was really glad to see at the end of the day that Rudy and Jenna did stand their ground. They told them what their duties were again. Hopefully they'll listen.
And I love the federal Constitution puts the finger on you.
Yep.
It's on you.
Yep.
That was great.
Yeah, he said that in Michigan too. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm encouraged. I'm never losing faith in this. I mean, I know everybody's worried about time running out. Tell them about we're expecting to happen even before December 14th.
Well, on December 8th, which coincidentally I said is the Feast of the Immaculate Conception. So Mary, please pray for us. We need it. We need all the prayers we can get. December 8th is the end of the safe harbor under federal law. December 16th is when the electoral college votes must be in. So what we're doing, we're looking, the president's, got his rally on Saturday. Yeah. I think there's going to be a lot of this is no time to go wobbly.
Yeah.
On us. We need Maggie Thatcher back, right? Let's get Katie Hopkins over here. Seriously, let's get Katie Hopkins to talk to these Georgia legislators, these Georgia Republicans.
Yeah.
She'll whip them into shape like that.
Yeah.
Seriously, because these Republicans are looking for any bush to hide behind. They are looking to cave. They're absolutely looking to go Republican.
They're scaring me a little bit in Georgia. I have a friend that's working down in Georgia for the RNC, doing the door knocking and canvassing and stuff, and she said that the party is encouraging Republican voters to do
early
mail
vote. Yeah,
to do mail-ins.
Yeah, it's like, what is up with that?
Because this is what they're telling them that there may be a storm on January 5th. I'm sorry,
these people should be getting $450,000 working for networks as weathercasters if they know that there's going to be an ice storm on January 5th.
Right. So what they should, if they're doing anything, so their early voting starts on Monday the 14th. If anything, this is what I told my friend, find out if they were accepting mail-in ballots early, like they did in North Carolina. You could take an early voting station and turn your ballot in. Then it's in, right?
Right.
You know that it's gotten in. I think she's going to be finding that out. But why would the RNC be telling people to mail in their votes when all we're asking people to do is to be, make sure your vote is counted?
Do the Republicans really want to hold on to the Senate? Just asking.
They do scare me.
Well, you and I have too many battle scars from too many battles over too many decades.
and other than Republican, as long as Donald Trump is still a Republican. But the moment he tells the party to kick the curb, I'm going with him. I remain a Republican because of him. I mean, I was a Tea Party girl. I was independent. I was trying to go libertarian. No, that doesn't fit me. Nothing fit me. What fit me was I'm a Tea Party Republican, and now I'm a Patriot Republican.
I'm a registered conservative here in New York State. I can't go libertarian because I'm pro-life.
Right. Not either.
Yeah. So.
I love the origins of the Republican Party. I love many of the people of the Republican Party, but the leadership sometimes from Capitol Hill, or sometimes just, right?
I want to throttle them.
Right?
Seriously, you just want to grab them by the lapels and shake them and say, wake up and buck up. Grow a spine.
I know. So that's why MAGA Institute is so important. And that's why we are vetting candidates every time there's a primary. Last year was our first go of it.
Yeah, this was our first cycle.
And we're in the off season right now, obviously, because we're in a contested election. So that's why we aggregate news for you. And we are asking you to join us at MAGAinstitute.com to stay up to date with everything. But also in your subscription, when you sign up for us, tell us you want to volunteer. We need you.
Absolutely.
Need you in your district because you are boots on the ground. You are the eyeballs on everybody in your area. When you see it's time for actually everybody, right? 2022 is coming up. Oh, there's a great person or there's a terrible person in your congressional district that you need to get out, but there's someone in your area. Contact us and tell us. We can help urge people to come to the front, to the cream of the crop to come to the front. So don't just join and subscribe, but send us an email that you're willing to help us. We need your help. We're all about everybody being a part of this because this is MAGA country and we are not letting it go. We're not going to go quietly into that dark, cold night.
Absolutely not. And if you don't have time or you don't have the interest to help us with your talents, we would more than appreciate your financial support, because the support we've gotten has enabled us to do what we're doing.
Amen. That's right. Amen. It's been great talking to you tonight. Thank you for doing a recap with me. We'll recap again.
Of course. Thank you.
Yeah, it's awesome.
All right, partner.
Let you sign off.
Until next time, God bless you. God bless these United States. Keep fighting the good fight.